Shalom Aleichem. We're learning the Sicha of Tzav, the first Tzav Sicha in Chelik Chav Beis. And it's based on two Fabrengens where the Rebbe explained the same Likutei Levi Yitzchak. One's in Tavshin Lamed Gimel, 1973, and then the other one's Tavshin Mem, 1980. So in Tavshin Lamed Gimel, the Rebbe went to explain the Bir the Levi Yitzchak, the two Lashonos of the Zohar, as we know, the Aryeh Tkif for the Vial Tarfe, Aryeh Avdeva, Al Karbana. And he explained that in the Aryeh, in the Merkabel Yena, there's two things. There's Chesed and Gvuda, and he splits into two sections, whether it's because the Gvuda is Begilui, because the Aryeh is the way he is himself, or the Chesed is Begilui, because of the Tzibur and the Sinas Koyach that Hashem gives us to receive the Karbanis, and that's how we transform Gvuda into Chesed. And this is also what it says, Vateitze Eish Melefnei Hashem, that says in the 8th day of the Miluim. That was in the way of Gilui Yisus L'Eila Mitzad Atzma, the higher from the Gilui of Shivas Yimei Miluim. That was Yisus L'Eila that came through Yisus L'Tata Avedis Nevdaim. And that was said in the other, but when that was said in the original Fabrengen. Therefore, after all the miracles that happened during the Shivas Yimei Miluim, that Moshe Rabbeinu brought Karbanis and was dressed he served in a white cloak, similar to Avedis Kain Gadol B'Yom Kippurim. Nevertheless, the Jewish people, the Yidden were nechlamim, they were embarrassed, and they said, all the effort that we did is not working, because we're not getting Gili Ashchina. So you see, in reality, it wasn't the same thing. And just like you find that Moshe Rabbeinu, there was a difference between the situation when he was Shchina Medaberes B'Tef Gileinai to when there was a special revelation that Hashem actually spoke to him, not that Hashem spoke through him. Hashem speaks to him, so too, there was different levels. And in Avodah, the idea is that you felt that the carbon is not only Kaparas Nafshay, but it's a gift to the Eibishter. Fine. That was what the Rebbe said in Tavshin Lamed Gimel, and the Rebbe then connected it to the idea of Machzis HaShekel, the idea of Yisus L'Sata, that Yid really wants to have a kapara, and then Hashem shows him Matbeya Shalesh, and he brought the story of the Alter Rebbe that regarding the Maggid message, that was a certain fellow that had a ruach shtus, had madness about Tzvekis Nemunah, and when his father came to the Maggid and begged that he should save him, that he shouldn't go off the derech, the Maggid went into a major dveikus and said a drasha on the pasuk v'nevesh kisechta tava. It's a question. What's the connection between a nevesh kisechta and a question mark? What's the connection between a nevesh and a chet? And through that Torah, a big wind came and literally threw this yid into the Dal Damas of this Talmud of the Maggid, and he changed and he became a shemer Torah mitzvahs. So in other words, the idea that you have to activate the nefesh, the neshama, the Yisus L'Sata, and that transform everything. Fine. Let's move to Tavshin Mem. The beard in the other of Zoya. It's a long Fabrengen. The Rebbe went like this, and the Rebbe explained that the idea of carbon, you have the Aktava Gufa, which is Chesed, and then you have after the Aktava, you have Nachas Ruach Lefanai. So basically, you have in the Aktava Gufa, you have Inyan Chesed, and after you sacrifice the carbon, Nachas Ruach, it's only Chesed. And the Inyan of Chesed Gvuda that is in every carbon is bepashtus the idea of Tzav L'Shamayim, which is Gvuda, and Tzav L'Bli is Chesed. And as you see in a carbon Toida, which is a carbon shlamim that the bailim, the owners eat, so there's a chelik of the carbon that goes to the bailim, Tzav L'Bli, and a chelik of the carbon that goes to Tzav L'Shamayim. Even by carbon Oila, the skin goes to the kohen. So there's always the idea of Tzav L'Bli. More than that, through that a kohen is makriv a carbon oila, he gets educated, and that becomes he literally gets the chinuch of how to be a kohen, and he gets the chazaka that he's a kohen. So and through that he'll be able to get the gifts of being a kohen. So you see that even in the carbon oila there is the chesed for the kohen. In other words, besides the fact that the kohen mitzad atzma on his own behalf is chesed, through that he's makriv a carbon, even if it's a carbon oila which is kulil Hashem. A chesed happens to the kohen. He gets the skin and he becomes activated as a kohen. He's getting practice. Even by carbon minchas kohen, which goes entirely to Hashem. Nevertheless, it's mechanech the kohen, which is idea of chesed. So these two things that are in carbon, chesed and gvuda, are also in avodah sada. In every avodah, whether with yourself or with somebody else, you have to have your mig mekadeves and small deicha. And only then could avodah be b'shleimus. And these two things of Yomim Kadeves and small deicha are in the first parsha of Shma, as you see in the Ha'ara, from the Rebbe's father. Then the parsha the Shen of Shema, you have Oida Gvura, the light of Gvura within Chesed. Why? Because V'aftas Hashem Lekecha is the Inyan of Chesed, Yomim Kadeves, because we know that V'aftas Hashem Lekecha is the same thing V'aftas Lekecha Kamecha, as the Alter Rebbe said. The kavana v'after is ve'elekecha is and v'after decha kamecha, however, is to accomplish ve'ed v'meila shenechum tzav chayim, which is kiyam mitzvah small doicha gvura, doing it. So literally it's, as he said, it's oid hagvura b'kli chesed. And these two things in the first parsha of Shma chesed and gvura are oid hagvura b'kli chesed. Clear in Begalo, revealed where you see that you have to have the avoid of kiddush and chesed v'after Hashem lekecha v'after kamecha, which are interconnected. That's the kli, which is chesed. But the kavana and the pnimius of the kiv is that should be gvura, it should be vayed v'meila shenechim tzav chayim alav, get the job done. And this is also the way you have to be mechanech hayid, whether young or old, especially when we're talking about young kids in those years, especially in Tafshem Mem. That was talking a lot about chinuch hayeladim. So with them also you have to have chesed and gvura yimim kadeves and small deicha, like it says about in the Geras HaKodesh, the mashal of an incredible king who will literally go and clean the dirt off his own son because he loves him so much. That's the idea of chesed and gvura together. You're going and cleaning, but ultimately you want to make sure that they're clean up. The chinuch of Ktanis is especially focused now, Chodesh Nisan, time of Pesach, as we know in Yecheskel, it talks in length that Yetzias Mitzrayim was the birth of Am Yisrael, and then we were like young boys and girls. And so too in chinuch, when you educate young boys and girls, it has to be to everybody. It has to be in the same way. Yemim Kadeves is small deicha, but obviously also with adults, because in a way, all Yidden are young compared to the avodah that they can go and upgrade to eventually. So therefore, this idea of chinuch is by everybody. Every chinuch has to have chesed and gvura, just like similar to the vart of the Abisein Nesienu that said that just like a person has to know the cheslenis, you also have to know your milas, which is the idea of chesed and gvura. And through these two things of chesed and gvura and Parsha Yeshanik Shma, you get to the second section of Shma. Laman yibimechem evnechem al-dam shenishba lavshem lavisechem laseis lahem begali lamatam asar tvachim. This will be la'asid lavai. All the revelations are accomplished through what we do now. That we'll get all these brachas through the yemin deicha and small mekadeves that we do in our own avodah now. L'chaim l'shalom.